Hello, y'all, and welcome to CRE with CVC Worldwide Podcast. My name is Ashley Wilson, and I am the National Senior Manager of Culture and Servicing for Caldwell Baker Commercial. You are listening to Market Tales. It's our series where commercial professionals share their insights and their expertise and their stories from the front lines of their market. On today's episode, I'm excited to chat with Amit Grover of CVC Metro Brokers in Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Amit. How you doing today?
I am great, and thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so thrilled that we could connect. We were chatting at ICSC earlier this year in Las Vegas. You're telling me like kind of your background into commercial real estate. So why don't you tell everybody about your journey of how you got to where you are today?
Perfect. So I come from 20 years of IT background. I worked as a transformation and mergers and acquisition specialist for Fortune 500s. And it was funny, the numbers, the actual drive, the actual being able to integrate the businesses. So what I actually used to do for them, I actually shifted over to commercial real estate because funny enough, the numbers were a lot easier. Math was simple, right to the point. And it was a smooth transition to be able to say either the numbers make sense or they don't.
Yeah. Now, when we were talking earlier, you also mentioned that you have a family connection to commercial real estate as well, correct?
I do. So I grew up in a family with gas station owners, hotel owners, and liquor store owners. So I actually would go, started my college. I would study in the morning time, go and actually help out in the evening time. So that was the world that I came from. And everybody's like, maybe you should actually go do this. You understand the day to day, what's involved, and how to basically make it more profitable. So why not basically merge those worlds?
Nice. Now, was there ever a moment when you were growing up in the commercial real estate industry that you thought to yourself, I'm not doing this because this is what my family does and I want to go do my own thing?
Oh, all the time. My
Yeah.
dad gets pissed at me because why aren't you in the family business? We could expand so much more if we would be doing that. But
Nice. Yeah.
again, just like a lot of kids, I wanted to basically pave my own path.
Right, right. And you did there for a bit, right? And then somehow you came back, right? You went
Well, you got to take best of all the worlds and combine it. So
nice. So thank you for telling us about yourself. Now let's talk a little bit about your market. So you are in Atlanta, Georgia. Tell me about what you specialize in and then about your market there for Atlanta.
So I have a combination. Around 50, 60% of my time, I specialize in retail. The retail sector has been one of the most booming sectors. 20% of my market is more medical office based. Funny enough, that is a huge trending aspect over here. And then the other 20, 30% happens to be more generalized using my family background, whether it's hotels, gas stations, funny enough, industrial warehouses, or even liquor stores. So that's the type of stuff. But my primary focus, again, is retail and medical offices.
And what pulled you towards the retail world when you decided to go into commercial real estate?
Well, numbers. I specifically focus on the distressed properties. Um, People talk about cap rates. Oh, I want to make X amount of money. Great. If you want stability, that's awesome. However, if you actually get something, let's say for $1 million, you put a half a million in the place, you actually start working through it. Those same exact distressed properties, when they're turning around within 18 to 36 months, and now you're able to double your money, that's the type of stuff. And I was focusing on mergers and acquisitions, being able to take the value add, being able to put everything together. That's consistent with any business that you're working on. What's the value add? How do we make more money out of it? And not just stability. So that always excited me. That makes sense. That's where I see the market actually continuing to trend. Funny enough, Georgia market, not just Georgia, overall US market, what I'm seeing is actually trending over to value add. So that's been a huge plus.
Now, in your Georgia market, in the Atlanta area, or do you focus on like Atlanta Metro? Are you Northeast Atlanta, Northwest Atlanta, or you kind of cover all of it?
I cover all of it. I'll give you a perfect example, right? You get a place like Alpharetta. It's a booming, very affluent area. What you would be able to buy a shopping center for $5 million in Alpharetta, you might get 5 or 6 tenants. That's great. Let's work with 5 tenants. One tenant actually has a problem happen, you just risk 20% of your portfolio. You start going in the markets that are actually starting to expand outside of Atlanta, south side of Atlanta. That same exact 5 million might get you, it's the same exact amount of return. If it's 7% cap rate on one side, it's still going to be 7% more on the other as well. But on the flip side, when you now have 20 tenants, one went down, you don't just basically risk 20% of your portfolio. You're able to diversify and go down to only 5% and have a little bit breathing room working towards repositioning your strategy.
Oh, I love that analogy. That was great. So now let's move on to you as a business as a producer. Tell me about a time when you won the business and then what you think attributed to your success in that winning the assignment.
So, guys, I'm gonna give the secret to my success. I actually have multiple times I've won this business using this secret, and my secret has two names: Charlie and Jane. For those of you who do not know who these people are, they are the R&D department of CVC Global. And one of my biggest wins, I will say, comes from struggling centers. 50% vacancy. We bring in, we start repositioning, we see exactly what's happening. Where some retailers are failing, people say, oh, Amazon has come in, all these changes are happening. Well, you know what? When people need service business, they need experience, they need to be able to get food. Amazon can't deliver that. So being able to take a look at how to basically reposition that whole center has been my success. Now, how do I use that and how am I winning some of this business? I'm going to Charlie, to Gene, to basically say, here is the actual center. What's happening? How was the actual traffic? They are able to pivot and provide me information. What happened? How are some of the actual nearby refocused areas, refocused centers doing? And being able to take this information to major franchises, having knowledge of which franchises are the ones that are about to come up, that's basically been the success rate I've been using. I'm not just putting stuff on Crexy or CoStar saying, all right, keeping my fingers crossed, everybody will call. But instead, if you take that space and say, hey, Papa John's, your competitors are here. Why aren't you? And here's why you should be. This becomes more of a targeted marketing, which a lot of other companies don't have access to. Being able to leverage the tools that we are provided, that we are given, changes the whole game. And that's critical. I have clients who we walked in, we are basically showing them the details. This is where, if you get this specific center, all the other spots in this center, this is where the traffic comes from. 50% would come from home, another 30% come from their work or specifically this area. And when they're done with this place, this is where they go to. If you have information access like that, couldn't your tenant now use their limited marketing budget? Most companies don't have unlimited budget, but couldn't they basically focus that limited marketing budget to target exactly where they know their clients are going to be coming from anyways, to go ahead and remind them, we are here, this is what's happening? That makes a huge difference for success.
So it sounds like that when you talked to Charlie and Jane, they ran a void analysis to determine who's not in that area, and then also mobile data insights to determine where people are coming from when they're visiting that area. And that's kind of what you're referring to with their limited marketing budget, where they can really target their marketing dollars to service those people that may be stopping on the way home from work, right?
Absolutely.
Um, and now, do you have a specific example of a listing that you won because of Charlie and Jane or because of anything else that you're doing in your business?
Sure, I'll actually use two examples. One was a struggling center, 50% vacancy. We brought in medical users, we added service retail, and at least convinced the actual landlord to demo portion of the property to add drive-through pads. Within 18 months, the NO had actually doubled, and the actual cap rate compression created at least $2 million in equity. Now, that landlord was extremely happy. He's like, wait, I didn't realize this could be done with this area. Yes. Second one, that's where I was with at ICSC this year. One of our focus was to basically get a major gym brand to basically come in, Lifetime Fitness, and we're talking about the actual shadow centers. What's happening in one of the actual outskirts of Atlanta, in Cumming, Georgia? As Atlanta's continue to expand, there's no more space itself, so people are starting to go a little bit further out and out and out. Now, when that's happening, Coming Georgia, we're taking a look a little far out, but one of the top producing public shopping centers is there. It's one of the number, I think, 10 in the whole Georgia area compared to how every other place is. And that's very rare for a rural place to make that type of money. People are going in. Lifetime Fitness in Alpharetta, which is approximately 15 miles away, is already at full capacity, not accepting a single extra person. So when we now start taking a look, hey guys, Lifetime, Publix is here. Here are all the other people. Here are the numbers they're basically doing. Here is what's getting vetted. Now Lifetime's listening and talking and saying, wait, what do you mean? What's happening? Just because our pad is there, it doesn't mean Lifetime will basically go and review, or their broker might have even seen it. But when we now know exactly who to focus on, who to basically even talk to, that at least opens that introduction. They could have said, nope, not interested. But having that data, being able to say, this is what and why you need to talk to us, at least opens up, oh, we didn't realize that. Maybe let's talk.
Yes. And two great examples. Thank you so much. And with with different outcomes too. I mean, they're both successful, different ways to use the data from Charlie and Jane and how you use it and how you leaned on it. So, next question, we want to talk about what you think is going to happen in your market in the next 12 to 18 months.
Well, as I said earlier, I think the market is all about value add. I'll give you a perfect example. 80% of our US population is older senior community. Medical offices are continuing to attract capital. Retailers are getting leaner. They're getting more service driven. And distress assets, that's where the money is. So when Amazons of the world are coming in and new convenience factors where the retail is not needed as much, that's a myth. The retail is still needed no matter what. Repositioning those to actually get attract tenants to actually have a lifestyle where people go in, they get out of their car. For example, one of the centers we are working with is focused on gym usage. Well, we're not just going to basically put the list out there. We're focusing on those tenants that if you actually have a smoothie shop, if you have a health food shop right next to it, so it becomes an experience aspect. And that's what I mean with value add. That's what the whole market, I've seen so much craziness that's happening. When you go in, you don't just take a look. You don't just say, what should I be doing? You reposition, you re-strategize, you basically focus on how do we start basically making that shift to be able to maximize the amount of investment, whether you basically go ahead and cash out and sell or reposition and refinance.
Yes. All right. And our last question, I know that you are working on some really exciting things. I want to give you the opportunity to share those with our listeners, and specifically our Call Banker Commercial Network.
So I'm actually working on a couple of things. One, I come from an IT background, 20 years of mergers and acquisitions, automating stuff, figuring all that out. So we are actually working on this haves and wants system. 70% of um, our clients. I will give you an example for Metro Brokers. We have about 120 people. Every Monday morning, 8:30 to 9:30, we have a golden hour. Everybody gets on the phone. Hey, this is what's about to come up. This is what I need. Well, 70% of our stuff, if something is happening which our clients need, we don't even let it go to market. We say, hold on, I have the perfect candidate for that. Let me go ahead and move forward. And within 2 weeks, we're basically making stuff happen. So utilizing that exact thing, I'm actually building a haves and wants system which literally reaches out to people to say, you only focus on retail? Great. Put your requirements in, and it broadcasts. One of the biggest challenges I had when I entered this industry was, oh, if you're working with another agent, they won't call you back. Well, this is our reputation on the line, guys. So the system, what we're basically building, for example, sends out that requirements. If you basically got something, it will remind you every 3 days. You haven't responded. You haven't responded. On the flip side, when you respond to me, and if I am actually the culprit because I'm just slammed, no problem. It will remind me somebody else sent you the details. Does this fit your need? It's okay to say no. Sorry, this doesn't work, but hopefully next time we work together. But if it does meet and it keeps on reminding you, physically have to go and shut that off. It won't just allow you to automatically shut it off. So that's the type of stuff. Majority of my business was starting to come from off-market deals, and we were utilizing that to basically get client stuff that hadn't even hit the market, so they were happy. And then two, we actually launching a separate aspect. I entered this industry 5 years ago, at least full time. I've been in the industry since 2008, but I'm not a lawyer. We are the actual gatekeepers, though. Even if we don't write the legal leases, and we should not, we should always clarify, hey, please get a check from legal team. We are actually developing a system that has taken the retail best industry practices, uploaded it, where you can now upload a lease, and it will basically now turn around and say, here's what lease means. Each section means in plain English. This does not replace the actual legal review, but at least tells you, because as an agent, as a broker, I am the actual gatekeeper that's working with some of these national tenants, which means my reputation is on the line, both for the tenant and for the landlord I'm representing. If I can basically understand what some of the potential issues could be, and the system literally goes down the lease review, tells you, here's what's there, here's what's missing from best practice, here's what could come back to bite you, and literally tells you, here's what to watch out for. And that type of stuff, these type of tools, to be able to say, because we have metro brokers, Coldwell Banker Commercial Metro Brokers specializes in bringing the right people in. But in order to make sure we represent the values of CBC, we ensure our people are trained. Residential agents might need 9 hours a year. Some of us get, at least in commercial side, over 100 plus hours a year to stay on top of the market, to stay on top of how do we represent our client in the best ability to be able to do so. That's the value add we bring. And having a tool like this, which just spits out, even a new agent can understand and be able to explain to the landlord, are you aware of this? And if yes, and you don't want to move forward, no problem. So I'm really excited about some of these tools to come out.
Yeah. I love that you're really leaning on automation and AI, because with that in the commercial real estate space, you really have to keep up with what's the trends and what's happening, right? So we're trying to do that on the brand side as well. A lot of exciting things coming y'all's way. That haves and want systems. It reminds me a lot of what we kicked off maybe a little over a year and a half ago on the wants and needs on CBC Worldwide, where someone can post what they're looking for, what a client is looking for, something that they have, and then kind of can connect with other folks in the network and say, oh, I have something that'll fit that, right? I like that automation though, where it kind of reminds people like, oh, you haven't responded to me yet. Like if you don't have it, that's fine. So really interesting add-on for that as well. Well, in this conversation today, I've learned so much about you, Amit. One thing that I really enjoyed was how you said you combine the two things that you know. So you took your IT background and you took what you knew from growing up in commercial real estate in the family business and brought them together. And that's how you are successful today, right? Really leaning on what you do best in IT, and then a skill that you were refining and you didn't even know it because you were born into commercial real estate. Also, numbers don't lie. I can tell that you really like data, right? Especially not only like Charlie and Jane, but the amount of times that you spit out percentages, I was like, oh, that's powerful. It made me lean into the conversation and started thinking, especially when you said 80% of our population is the aging population because of the boomers, right? So you're talking about the med retail. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Did not know that fact, right? So as we kind of close out today, I want to thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. If anybody wants to connect with Amit, has more questions for him, wants to pick his brain, please find him on LinkedIn. You can also search him on cbcworldwide.com, Amit Grover at CBC Metro Brokers in Atlanta, Georgia. I also want to remind everyone that if you like this podcast, please share it, right? Please like it. Please follow us. We really appreciate the support out there in the network and beyond. All right. So, of course, we like to close out and just tell everyone that until next time, may your ventures be filled with success and your stories continue to inspire.